The Australian Outback, a vast, unforgiving landscape. Stretching for hundreds of thousands of miles, the Outback is known for its breathtaking beauty, but also its isolation, harsh terrain, and unpredictable weather. The vast wilderness may seem peaceful, but it has also become the setting for some of the most chilling and mysterious disappearances in history. One such mystery unfolded in the summer of 2001 when a young backpacker set out to explore the Outback, only to disappear without a trace. Despite extensive searches, the story of this backpacker, whose name was never found, remains one of the most baffling unsolved cases in the region. This is the story of a missing backpacker and the mystery that has haunted the Australian Outback for over 2 decades. A search for answers in the harshest environment on Earth, where the line between life and death is as thin as the desert air. It all began with the arrival of a young backpacker at the small town of Alice Springs, located in the heart of the Australian Outback. Alice Springs is known as the gateway to the Outback, attracting hundreds of thousands of tourists each year, most of whom come seeking adventure, excitement, and the beauty of the wild Australian landscape. Our subject, a young European backpacker in his mid-20s, had arrived in Alice Springs in early 2001. With little more than a backpack, a camera, and a dream of experiencing the untamed beauty of the Outback, he set out to explore the land. His plan was simple: to trek across the vast desert, take in the stunning views, and eventually make his way to the famous Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, one of Australia's most iconic landmarks. But things didn't go as planned. The young traveler had underestimated the vastness and dangers of the Australian Outback. What began as an adventure quickly turned into a harrowing tale of survival, confusion, and ultimately disappearance. The backpacker was last seen on February 13, 2001, near a popular stop known as Kings Canyon, one of the many beautiful yet treacherous spots in the Outback. He had been seen chatting with fellow travelers at a rest stop before continuing on foot toward the trailhead that would take him deeper into the desert. He was reportedly in good spirits, chatting about his travels and excited about the journey ahead. But that was the last anyone saw of him. His belongings, including his backpack, were left behind at the rest stop, and there were no signs of a struggle or anything unusual. It was as though he had simply vanished. Concerned locals and travelers began to notice his absence, and when a few days had passed without word from him, they alerted authorities. Search and rescue teams quickly launched an extensive operation to find the missing backpacker, scouring the vast Outback for any signs of his whereabouts. But despite their best efforts, no trace of the backpacker was found. His disappearance would remain a mystery for weeks, and as time passed, the search only grew more desperate. The search for the missing backpacker was one of the largest and most expensive search efforts in the history of the Australian Outback. Local authorities, aided by federal police, mounted an intense search, employing ground teams, helicopters, and even search dogs to comb through the rugged terrain. The Outback is a vast, unforgiving wilderness where temperatures soar above 40 degrees Celsius and water is scarce. Despite extensive searches, the missing backpacker's trail vanished into the desolate landscape. No footprints, no belongings, just an eerie silence. Theories abound. Did he get lost, succumbing to the harsh elements? Or perhaps dehydration claimed him, though the absence of any remains raises doubts. Some speculate foul play, a sinister encounter in isolation, yet no evidence supports this. Others whisper of the supernatural, suggesting he fell victim to ancient forces of the land. Each theory adds to the mystery, but the truth remains elusive, buried beneath the relentless sun and endless sands. Despite the efforts of hundreds of searchers, the vastness of the Outback proved to be an overwhelming challenge. With temperatures regularly exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, water supplies were limited, and the search crews were forced to battle not only the terrain, but also the harsh weather conditions. The Outback can be an incredibly dangerous place. Wild animals, poisonous plants, and extreme temperatures make survival nearly impossible without adequate preparation and equipment. However, there were no signs of the missing backpacker. His footsteps seemed to disappear into the vast nothingness. No body, no remains, no belongings, nothing to suggest what had happened to him. The lack of any solid evidence puzzled investigators. There were no signs of foul play, and no one seemed to have any idea where the backpacker had gone. Had he wandered off the beaten path and gotten lost? Or had something far more sinister occurred? As weeks turned into months, the mystery of the backpacker's disappearance began to attract widespread attention. The case was featured in newspapers, documentaries, and even television programs as experts and the public tried to come up with possible explanations. What had happened to the young man in the outback? Theories began to emerge, some plausible, others far more unsettling. The most straightforward theory suggested that the backpacker had simply gotten lost in the vast expanse of the outback. The terrain is unforgiving, and it's not uncommon for people unfamiliar with the area to wander off track and become disoriented. It's possible that the backpacker had veered off the marked trail, became lost in the desert, and succumbed to the harsh conditions. However, this theory doesn't explain the lack of any physical evidence such as footprints, water bottles, or even clothing that could indicate a struggle or desperate attempt to survive. Another plausible theory involved the backpacker suffering from dehydration and heat exhaustion. The outback is notorious for its extreme heat, and without proper hydration and preparation, it is easy to fall victim to the elements. Perhaps the young man became disoriented, lost his bearings, and succumbed to the heat. However, the lack of any remains or evidence of his presence along the trails makes this theory seem unlikely. A more sinister theory suggested that the backpacker may have fallen victim to foul play. Given the isolation of the outback, it's not entirely implausible that he may have encountered someone with ill intentions. Whether it was a random act of violence or something more targeted, some speculated that someone may have abducted or harmed the backpacker, and his body was then hidden in the vast desert. However, there was no evidence of such an encounter. No reports of suspicious individuals were ever found, and no signs of a struggle were discovered. Still, the theory of foul play remains a point of contention among some, especially given the lack of physical evidence to confirm or deny it. Given the eerie nature of the outback, some of the more fantastical theories propose that the backpacker's disappearance was linked to the supernatural. The outback, with its remote, desolate landscapes, has long been a setting for Aboriginal legends and stories of strange, otherworldly forces. Some speculated that the young man had become the victim of some mystical or paranormal force, a spirit of the land, or a curse. These theories, however, remain speculative at best. Without any tangible evidence to support them, they remain part of the more sensationalized speculation surrounding the case. Despite the numerous theories, the disappearance of the backpacker remains an unsolved mystery to this day. Although there have been a few follow-up searches, no new leads have emerged. The young man's name, the exact circumstances of his disappearance, and the truth about what happened to him in the outback remain unknown. In the years since, the case has continued to haunt both locals and those who have followed the story. Backpackers still venture into the outback, and though the story of the missing traveler serves as a cautionary tale, it doesn't stop people from taking the same risks. For now, the mystery remains unsolved. Was the backpacker simply another victim of the harsh environment? Did he fall victim to foul play, or something more sinister? Or is there another explanation, one that we may never fully understand? The Australian Outback is a land full of mystery, danger, and beauty. And within its vast expanse, the disappearance of one young backpacker continues to haunt the memories of those who remember the case. His fate remains a mystery, a tragedy that has never been solved, and a story that may never have an answer. As we continue to search for answers in the Australian Outback, the story of the missing backpacker serves as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the wilderness. In a place where survival is never guaranteed, we are reminded that sometimes even the most well-prepared adventurer can vanish without a trace. Until next time, thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of one of the most chilling mysteries of the Australian Outback.